Hi everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, March 25th, all the way through to Sunday, March 31st of 2019. And today I have some good news for you. Not only is Mercury stationing to go direct, finally, this has been a very retrograde for a lot of people with Mercury, which, doesn't do well in Pisces already, going retrograde, hitting Neptune, and that energy, lasts through the week, but we have a little help. So in addition to Mercury stationing to go retrograde to go direct on Thursday, which is going to help us to finally get to move forward and to have a little bit of momentum, to get some clarity once Mercury moves away from Neptune and gets out of the sign of Pisces. In addition to this, we actually have a good influence, a very positive, benefic influence. We have Venus exalted in the sign of Pisces. And so this is a really beneficial transit for the most part. When Venus is in the sign of Pisces, people become much more compassionate, much more loving, much more empathic, much more connected to the group. So people tend to be more forgiving, more charitable under this influence. This is also a deeply creative, deeply intuitive, deeply mystical influence, and it really helps you to form deep, mystical, sort of magical connections with the people that you care about most. And so, it's a very positive, very beneficial influence, and it's going to be benefiting all of us in different ways. And on the flip side of this, it can cause us to go a little too Neptunian, so we do need to address that. Even though Venus is technically in its exaltation, Venus is a sign of luxury, of feeling, of sensory experience, of pleasure, right? And so when we have Venus in the sign of Pisces, there can be a lack of boundaries because we're feeling so connected and so compassionate toward other people. We can sometimes be wearing rose-colored glasses when it comes to our relationships because we're seeing people through the lens of compassion and idealism, which is typically a good thing so long as you're able to stay rooted and grounded in reality to the extent that you need to in order to navigate, your relationships appropriately. And so this there's good and bad to this influence, but mostly positive, right? This is a very beneficial sort of thing that's going to be happening for the next few weeks. And so Venus is moving into Pisces. Oh, and speaking of that, I did want to mention something real quick, just because I thought this was kind of a fortuitous thing, because somebody asked me last week about astrological remedies, and because I think I spoke a little bit about what I consider to be remedies. So let me backtrack here. When I speak about astrological remedies, I'm talking about usually a number of different things. Sometimes I'm not talking about true traditional remedies. Sometimes I'm speaking of just ways that you can utilize the energy in the chart and in the transits. So you're utilizing it in a positive way of your own volition, as opposed to having a negative influence of that transit come in from sort of the outside where it's beyond your control. So essentially the theory here is, if you utilize the energy, if you use it up for something more positive, if you direct it yourself in that way, then there's less of it left over for, crazy, chaotic circumstances to come in. And that's my favorite way to utilize what I refer to as remedies. So if you get a reading with me, and sometimes I'll talk about that, in my videos, because you're working with the energy rather than against it, it can make things a little easier for you, right? But then there are other things like remedies, and I'm going to do a whole video on this because I've been really working with different astrological remedies and hacks and things like that for the past few years now. Anything from using color and herbal remedies, and Bach flower essences are one that I talk about quite frequently, and I utilize a lot. And crystals, gemstones. I wear this ring here that's actually a red coral ring because I have a very debilitated Mars, and I found this to be very helpful. And even things as far as symbolism and imagery and all of that can be helpful in utilizing the energy more beneficially. And it's just kind of synchronous that I actually received this talisman here. It's a lunar talisman from a man named David Weitzman, I believe. In either case, if I'm not pronouncing his name right, the website is Ka Gold Jewelry. I'll post a link below because I really do. I'm very impressed with this. It's beautiful, and it was actually created using ancient ancient astrological techniques for creating talismans to benefit you in a very specific way. And this one caught my eye when I was looking through the website and just deciding, you know, if I wanted what I wanted to choose in terms of a talisman. And when I clicked on it, it was crazy because this was actually created under the influence of Venus in Pisces, which Venus is moving into Pisces right now. And it was Venus in Pisces conjunct Neptune on my North Node in a sextile with the moon, which was exalted in the sign of Taurus, right on my descendant. And so when I saw that and the alignment that this was created under, I just absolutely had to have it. And I honestly, this has been very, very helpful during the Mercury retrograde for me. I didn't have it until halfway through. I wish I would have had it at the beginning because it's very much helped me to just kind of go with the flow, let things happen, to think more creative and intuitively, and to turn off my Virgo brain a little bit because I was having a difficult retrograde at the start. I was having a lot of things, sort of mishaps. You guys saw me on my social media making all sorts of mistakes, and I had to redo my whole video last week, and I had so many tries it took me a long time to get it uploaded and all of that. But anyway, this has helped me in a lot of different ways, and I've had a lot of very synchronistic connections with people come up as soon as I got this talisman around my neck. So this is just one example of different remedies, and I just wanted to bring this up because I just thought it was so interesting that I received this, and then Venus is moving into the sign of Pisces right now, which is a very positive influence. And you know, this talisman was created under Venus and Pisces, and I think there's still some of these available too, so it's good for love, creativity, you know, being more in flow and in harmony and all of that, compassion. You know, it's a magical sort of energy with Venus and Pisces, so it harnesses that, right? And so these are just different things. And like I said before, I'm going to make a whole video on this, but this is a topic I'm super interested in, and I've been working with it quite a bit, you know, in my own life, with my husband, with my clients, all of that. So anyway, back to what I was talking about here. So Venus is in the sign of Pisces this week, and we talked about that, but Mercury is going direct. And so that's something that I really want to discuss here because it's very interesting the way this is aligning with Mercury moving direct. So you might remember last week I talked about Mercury coming into a conjunction with Neptune and Pisces on Saturday. And this energy is actually an energy that's going to last at least a week because Mercury, as you can see here in this image that I can never point to that way, as you can see here somewhere, Mercury is in a conjunction with Neptune as it stations to go direct. And so this can be very positive if you utilize that energy creatively, intuitively, for compassionate communication. You can get a lot of very etheric, sort of otherworldly messages that come in. Connections with other worlds, connections with other realms can be heightened with Mercury retrograde in general, right? When you think about Mercury in the mythology, Mercury is actually the god that's able to transcend the realms between the living and the dead, and none of the other gods can do that. And so when Mercury is in retrograde, that's why we're more introspective, intuitive. We're thinking more in terms of symbolism, archetypes, and it is said that you can connect more with your ancestors, with the deceased, with people who, or with entities and energies that are beyond this world, and you can receive information from these other dimensional realities and these other realms. And with Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces and stationing to go direct really strong in the sky, when Mercury stations, it's super strong, and when Mercury's in retrograde, it's 3 times closer to the Earth, which is why mercurial things come up more predominantly, and we tend to rush through them, we tend to make mistakes, we tend to overthink things, and it causes issues, right? And so with Mercury stationing with this conjunction to Neptune, it's a great time to harness that energy and to not think too much. And that's something that I was struggling with all the different, I mean, you guys know some of the developments that have been going on. I moved across the country, and not across the country, but out of state, several hours from where I was. We're in an Airbnb. We're trying to get into our house. We were having all these issues trying to get in early, and a lot of other stuff just coming up, like Mercury retrograde types of things that you would expect to happen moving during a Mercury retrograde, which was not my choice. I'm very grateful that we're not moving into our real home until it goes direct. But anyway, so I was, overthinking, overplanning, Virgo brain, right? Trying to fix all these problems. And once I sat back and just started just going with it, and really, I mean, this talisman helped me with that, but it was like I just had to keep reminding myself. And so doing more meditation under this influence, spending more time in contemplation, doing spiritual practices, connecting with a spiritual community, doing something charitable, right? And that's why I did like a couple of contests and giveaways and things like that, and because I wanted to do something to help people to navigate the energy under this compassionate energy of Mercury conjunct Neptune. Those are good ways to utilize this energy positively, so that way it's not expressed in a way that can be perceived as more negative or that can be detrimental to you, which is definitely a possibility under this influence. Mercury with Neptune can be very difficult. People don't think logically, rationally under this influence. In people who have this in their chart, they tend to think more in terms of visions, downloads, impressions. They get like a whole picture of something in their head, and it can be so hard to explain it because it's so fully formed and so interconnected, and there's just so much involved in it that can't be expressed through language, that people are often misunderstood, or they feel like they can't really get their point across. And that's part of this energy that's going to be influencing all of us. Thinking about things, trying to figure things out and piece them together, plan them out, do things in a more rational sort of way, if that's what you're used to doing, that's just not going to work. Like, this week is a week of going with the flow, following your intuition, following the signs, and really, in your day-to-day experience, it's very beneficial under, an influence like this with all this Pisces energy to move with your feelings, move with your emotions, move with what feels right in that moment. Because that's really what's going to serve you, as opposed to planning things out and saying, I need to do this, this, and this in this order today because this is what makes sense and I have this deadline and blah, blah, blah. So that's one way that you can utilize and harness this energy. And we'll talk about in which part of your life that you should be doing things more creatively, intuitively, doing things that are charitable. That's another remedy, right? Using this to do something that gives back to other people, using this energy creatively. This is an excellent energy for creative writing, creative self-expression of all kinds, and finding very creative, sort of intuitive solutions to old arguments, old disagreements, old problems that can come up during this time as well. It can sort of just come to you like this picture. Visualizing what you want for the future can be very beneficial. And, during this moment when Mercury stationing direct can be a really great time to do that. But on the flip side, if you're not utilizing this energy, in a more positive way, and even if you are, this can sometimes be the case, you can become much more gullible. You can become much more prone to deception. All these things we talked about last week, right? Deception, disillusionment, where we are seeing things through this idealistic lens. We're wearing the rose-colored glasses. We're not able to pick up on the subtle nuances that we normally are able to pick up on that cue us into when we're being lied to or, taken advantage of in some sort of way. This can also cause us to be overly compassionate and to martyr ourselves on behalf of other people, or to agree to things. This is a big one with Mercury conjunction to Neptune, is that people tend to, under this influence, become overly obligated. So we'll martyr ourselves on behalf of other people without even realizing it. It's because you're caught up in their excitement, or you feel such deep empathy for somebody that you just agree to do something that you normally would not agree to be doing, and then later on you're on the hook for something, and it causes people to become very flaky with their plans and with their the agreements and contracts that they make. People who have this in their chart, they don't always do what they say they're going to do, and it's not because of lack of good intention. They have the best intentions in the entire world. It's just that they tend to obligate themselves to do too many things, and sometimes they think that thing is in alignment with what they need to be doing, because they're caught up in feeling other people's energy around whatever it is they're agreeing to. So that's something that is a potential here. There's also a lot of energy around deception in the media. We have seen this coming up quite a bit in the past week in particular, with recent global events and, people picking that apart and commenting on the potential for deception and the inconsistencies in what's being portrayed. And then we've also had, even in social media, there was that vegan YouTuber or whatever who got caught eating fish, which you know, turned into this big, this big ordeal that I don't think it needs to be that big of an ordeal, but it was, right? And, you know, she was misleading people and making money off of selling something that, that she didn't fully believe in and that actually made her sick. So, you know, there is that energy of deception coming up and it's bubbling up to the surface. You can't avoid it now. And so you are going to have these moments of disillusionment also where the veil drops under this influence and you are able to see things clearly. The deception comes up and, you know, it's in your face. And so that's part of it as well. So, you know, with this Mercury stationing to go retrograde, don't think you have all the answers. Don't think you know it all, because things can come up right now and it's not, everything is not what it seems. There's this energy of illusion. There's this veil over our eyes, our brains right now, and things are still foggy. And we did talk about that a lot last week, but I will, I'm going to focus more on what we can move forward with this energy in this forecast here. So we're going to talk about the Venus energy. We're going to talk about this Mercury energy. And so let's get into it. But before we get into the forecast for all 12 signs, I do want to just make a couple of quick announcements. I am doing my webinar all about Saturn. So mastering Saturn, mastering the best way to overcome the challenges of Saturn, to work with the energy instead of against it, which is something I was just talking about. It's kind of a theme right now in terms of what I'm trying to do and work with and teach other people. And so there is a webinar all about the cycles of Saturn, the way to utilize the Saturn energy in your own chart, that I'm doing live on May 11th. And so you can register now to receive 30% off of your registration fee. And the link is down in the description below. Even if you can't attend live, you'll get a recorded version of this at a discounted price. So always good to do if you're interested. And then I have my Aries forecast is live now, available for your solar return. So if you're in Aries, you can pick that up. The link is in the description below. And if you're a Taurus, there's only like a week left to get your Taurus solar return forecast, which I'm finishing up and you know, recording the rest of it today. That's going to be available for everyone on April 1st. And so you can get 25% off if you pre-order your Taurus solar return, or any of the other signs if you're not a Taurus. And the link to do that is in the description below. And of course, if you want to book a reading with me, you can always do that. The link is again in the description below. So that's what's going on there. And I will be doing some, you know, again, I have some videos that I'm planning. I might wait until we move to just and get settled and I have a better setup to do all this. I'm going to do astrological remedies. I'm doing a really cool video with my friend Griselda Pacheco about archetypes, feminine archetypes in astrology, and some of the asteroids and minor influences. And, you know, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff around Saturn too, because Saturn's coming into that conjunction with Pluto. So just keep an eye out. That'll be all coming up soon. All right, so let's get into this forecast here for all 12 signs. And so Venus will be moving into Pisces for several weeks, and Mercury will still be in the sign of Pisces, moving direct for, let's see here, when's the shadow period end? So the shadow ends on April 17th. And so this, for the Mercury stuff I'm talking about, will be a forecast that'll really be relevant all the way through to the middle of April, April 17th. And, you know, the Venus aspects, I don't have the exact date in front of me, but that's going to be several weeks as well. So this is a forecast that you keep in mind what I'm saying here, because these are going to be beneficial influences, especially with Venus, that are going to last for quite some time. And so you can figure out how to utilize that. All right. Where is my Aries image? Oh no, you guys. I just got the images working and now it's like not working. No, hold on one second. Nope. Okay, well, that's gone. So I just got those, see, Mercury retrograde, you guys, and that's okay. It is what it is. So I don't have my little images that I literally just redid and put up here. They're not working again. So, you know, I'll bring those back next week. I'm already halfway through this video, so I'm not going to mess with it right now. I'm not going to worry about it because go with the flow, right? All right. So anyway, so for Aries and for Aries rising, This energy here of Venus in Pisces is in your 12th house, which is the house of rest, reprieve. It's a house where you go to get away from it all, to sort of reconvene, to take a vacation from normal day-to-day reality. And this would be a great time to do that in partnership with somebody else. Sometimes Venus transiting through the 12th house can bring like a hidden love affair, especially if there's other stuff going on in the chart, and especially if the person is, more prone to that based on their astrology. So this could bring some sort of secret affair or something like that into your life. But this is really great to use for some sort of spiritual retreat, to do something more creative, intuitive, to spend more time just relaxing, indulging in the non-ordinary reality. So practicing different forms of spirituality and mysticism, diving deep into fantasy, creativity, even just reading a good fantasy novel, if that's something that's indulgent to you that you don't normally do because maybe you have a bunch of kids or a bunch of work to do. Taking that time to rest and relax and to do something creative, and especially if you can do that and share that in partnership with somebody else. Maybe you have a partner or somebody that you're friends with that you share in similar spiritual practices and beliefs, and you want to go on a retreat together, or you want to do meditations together, or take a yoga class together, or whatever it is that you like to do, or take a painting class. That would be a really great way to utilize this energy. And so that's something that you can really tap into. And a lot of great insights can come, like really great intuitive insight can come through working one-on-one with people under this influence as well. The other thing that's happening here is that Mercury is stationing to go direct in the sign of Pisces, conjunct Neptune. So this week it's still going to have that watery, confusing energy that I talked about last week. This is really good to utilize compassionately. This is for Aries in particular, this is a great time to take a time out. Even with the sun recently moving into your sign, you're going to want to jump in. You're going to want to move forward with things. Wait at least until the end of this week, like the weekend, to just start to get things rolling and moving forward, because Mercury is like stationary, it's not moving, and it isn't that connection to Pisces. Unless you're doing something that's more intuitive, spiritual, all of that. That's more a better use of this energy. Moving forward, you're going to get a lot more clarity on issues that have come up for you during the Mercury retrograde, involving spirituality, involving a sense of isolation, involving hidden messages or hidden meanings, involving secrets, right? So secrets that have been kept from you and that maybe have been withheld and have contributed to you misunderstanding things or not getting a full clear picture. Those can bubble up to the surface all the way now through April 17th, and so you can get a resolution to whatever it is that you've been dealing with and working on in that realm. Again, really great for spiritual practice, meditation, journaling, all those types of things as well. I don't need to put this because it's not working. Okay. For Taurus and for Taurus rising. So this energy is happening in your 11th house. So Venus, exalted in the sign of Pisces in the 11th house, is great for forming really close bonds and connections with friends, with your social networks, with groups of people. You'll be much more popular and much more well received when it comes to your social networks and engaging in connections with groups of people. This is an excellent time to partner up or team up with an important organization or cause that is in alignment with what you feel compassionate toward. That's a really great way to utilize this energy. Or you can choose to do something really creative, to connect with your friends in a way that's creative, intuitive, to engage in mysticism, magic, do things that are fun and exciting that help you to tap into your spiritual side within a group, maybe joining a drum circle or doing whatever it is that feels good to you in terms of that. But this is a great time where you're going to feel much more compassionate, much more connected to the group as a whole, much more connected to your friends, to your social network. So this is a great energy, just overall in general. With Mercury stationing to go direct in this area, there could be some sort of hidden information or a double meaning or a message or some sort of deception that occurred within your social circle during the Mercury retrograde, or even via social media, the internet, that type of thing, that bubbles up to the surface and that you have to sort of look at and deal with and resolve moving forward in the next few weeks. If you've been lacking in clarity involving an issue that involves groups, social networks, networking for business, your friends, that type of thing, right? Maybe there's an issue or there's an argument or dispute amongst friends where you weren't really clear on what the solution was. Now is a time when you can actually get that solution. So over the next few weeks, a lot of these issues, if there's been miscommunication amongst friends, if there's been a lack of clarity around boundaries, if there's been, whatever lies, deception, that type of thing, it's all going to come up and you're going to be able to resolve these issues moving forward. Right. And then for Gemini and for Gemini rising, this energy is happening in your 10th house of career and public reputation. And so this is a great energy for career growth, for being more popular in your workplace, for getting good positive feedback from people in positions of power and authority, so like bosses. Or people in positions of authority within your field that you can connect with and team up with, and they can support you in a very loving, compassionate way. This is also you feeling much more empathy and compassion for people in your workplace. So if you are in a position of authority, feeling much more compassion for the people that work for you, for their experiences, doing something charitable, giving them gifts, maybe a little added bonus or something like that. And you might be on the receiving end of that as well. And so you might find that your bosses have more empathy toward your situation if you're going through something difficult. They give you the time off you need. Maybe they just feel more compassion toward you and more connected toward you, and so they give you a bonus, they give you a raise, that type of thing. This is a time when that could happen. Venus in the 10th house, money coming in through career, especially when it's exalted. And especially if you're in a field that's creative, or where you're working one-on-one with people, or you're working with women, this is going to benefit you in a lot of different ways with your career growth and success. So harness that energy while it's here, because it only comes around once every, 1.5, 2 years. I think it's 1.9 years or something like that with Venus. I'll have to double check, or just over 2 years. Either way, it doesn't come around all that often. It's not extremely rare, but it comes in cycles, so you want to use it while it's there. Mercury stationing to go direct in the 10th house of career and public reputation. So if there's been confusion around plans involving your career, involving deadlines, involving important work-related projects or communications, now's a time over the next couple of weeks until April 17th when you can get a resolution to this. So during the stationary period, again, it's best to think about things more intuitively, to just allow it to sort of settle, to think more creatively, to not make any concrete plans because you probably don't have the whole picture yet, or there's information that might be hidden or that you're not receiving fully. But when it moves direct and moves away from Neptune, so especially going into next week, you're going to get that clarity. You can start to make more concrete plans and goals moving forward, and you'll be able to resolve a lot of the miscommunications, mishaps, difficulties, anything involving lies, deception, lack of clarity in your workplace. All right, and so for Cancer and for Cancer rising, Venus is exalted in Pisces in the 9th house. And so the 9th house is the house of foreign travel. It's the house of connecting with people in different cultures, with different backgrounds and different experiences, and growing through your connections with them, with Venus being involved, right? So this is a really great time to reach out to a new teacher. This is a really great time to connect with somebody who you care about, who lives far away. This is a great time to travel to connect with somebody, right? So to be with somebody you care about who lives at a distance, to travel to connect with them. That would be a really good way to utilize this energy as well. Mercury stationing in the sign of Pisces to move direct this week is going to help you to get a lot of, so there's been potentially a lack of clarity around things like travel plans, the more mundane stuff, educational pursuits, that type of thing. But this has been a time when you might have confusion around your beliefs, what you stand for, your ethical, moral, and philosophical values that frame your reality and your experience in the way that you move about the world. And so now's a time when you can get more clarity. If you do, like I mentioned last week about spending time in meditation, contemplation, allowing things to come to you in flow instead of just trying to force an answer. If there's been an ethical dilemma that you've been confused about and that you have been seeking clarity on, now's a time when you can start to get that clarity moving forward in the next couple of weeks. If you've been kind of bouncing around ideas about travel plans or wanting to connect with some sort of higher educational pursuit, the next few weeks that provide a time when you can finally get to a resolution, make concrete plans, and move forward with these types of things. All right, and then for Leo and for Leo rising, This energy with Venus exalted in the sign of Pisces is happening in your 8th house, but this can bring good things in terms of money because this is the house of other people's money. It's the house of inheritance. It's the house of debt, taxes, but also the house of investments. And so this could be, some sort of benefit coming in financially through a partnership. This could be you really deepening your intimacy in your current partnership if you are in partnership, or creating deep connections with people who you haven't even met yet. Sorry guys, okay, I had to mute that. Oh no. All right, so unfortunately I can't edit that out because when I edit my videos right now, they won't upload to YouTube. So I have to just kind of mute my mic when the dogs are barking, and do my best with that for right now. But anyway, so I was talking about Venus in the 8th house. This can be a really incredible time to deepen your intimacy and partnership with somebody, to form really deep, spiritual, intimate connections with people around you, with people that you care about. You might feel much more intense and passionate in your relationships right now. This can also bring, obsessions and sort of more possessiveness in relationship on the flip side of this, or, sometimes power struggles and issues in relationship as well. Venus does do nicely here though, so I would say that it would bring more of the beneficial side of things through deepening your intimacy, deepening your connection in relationships, and potentially bringing in some money from an outside source through an investment, through partnership, through inheritance, through something along those lines. With Mercury stationing to go direct in the sign of Pisces in the 8th house, conjunct Neptune like this, there's probably been some sort of power struggle or something that you've been really trying to figure out and research on a deeper level that you haven't really quite come to any concrete conclusions on. If that's the case for you, you're going to get a lot more clarity moving forward this week. So a lot more clarity, a lot more positive energy around connecting with people in this way. So anyway, sorry, now I'm a little off here. So Mercury in the sign in the 8th house can bring hidden messages up to the surface. Secrets can be revealed. Power struggles and difficulty in communication, really intense communication can come up, but this will help you to come to a resolution point with something that you've been working on figuring out, getting to the bottom of, or an issue that has been disempowering you, either through relationship with somebody, or that's been disempowering you due to your own fears and anxieties around this issue. So it'll bring up these old wounds, traumas, insecurities, things that are sort of controlling you from a really deep and sometimes unconscious place, and it'll show them to you, and you'll get clarity like, wow, this is why I have this bad habit. Wow, this is why I have been having issues around this, that, or the other thing, because I have this trauma around this that I wasn't really addressing, or I wasn't really thinking of, or I have this deep fear or wound around maybe it's money, right, in the 8th house, or maybe it's love, maybe it's something else where you've been closing yourself off because you're letting the fear have power over you and dictate your behavior. That's the kind of stuff that can come up, especially if you think about it more intuitively, if you meditate on it, and it can really bring really powerful breakthroughs, so that way you can feel much more empowered to control your own life moving forward. All right, and so for Virgo and for Virgo rising, Venus in Pisces is in your 7th house, which is the house of close personal relationships, right? It's the house of marriage partnerships, long-term committed partnerships through marriage, or through like just long-term relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever in general. This is also the house of contracts, commitments, business partnerships, close friendships. And so this is a really great energy for forming deeper, more compassionate, intimate connections, spiritual connections with your partner. You can have much more balance in your relationships moving forward. This is really great for agreements and contracts in general for Virgos and for Virgo risings. That'll be mutually beneficial, where you'll both be very compassionate and understanding of one another. So you'll have mutually beneficial, very compassionate, open communication and connections with others. And so, the contracts that you sign can reflect that as well. but not yet. Not yet. Mercury is going to be stationing to go direct, right? So you still have this sort of fogginess, confusion. Maybe there's going to be a moment of disillusionment that comes up this week or into the future around an important relationship or an important communication or a deception in a relationship. And so you do want to keep awareness of that. Don't sign contracts and make agreements during Mercury retrograde. It's still retrograde till Thursday, but moving forward, especially into the weekend and into next week, you'll start to get more clarity around an important matter in relationship. Miscommunications in relationships and contracts can be cleared up, and so you'll benefit from this moving forward. All right, for Libra and for Libra rising. And so for Libra and Libra rising, this will be occurring with Venus in the sign of Pisces in your 6th house, which is the house of work. It's the house of daily routines. It's the house of health. And so this can really help you to come back into balance through a new health routine, through going with the flow a little bit more, through indulging in a little bit more self-care, doing things that you love to do a little bit more, and incorporating, maybe somebody else's opinion as it relates to your health or to your daily routines. This is really good for forming much better connections with your coworkers or the people that you work with. This is a great time for Libra rising if you work in a space where you can control the aesthetic of that space to redecorate, because you're going to be able to make your place your space that you're working in, much more tranquil, much more harmonious, much more beautiful at this time than you normally would be. Just make sure that you don't overindulge and overspend on like paintings and things like that for your office, because that can be a thing too. But you can make that experience of work much more comfortable for you. This is a really great time to bounce ideas off of other people for work, to connect with coworkers, to, form contracts and agreements after Mercury's direct. When it comes to work, when it comes to your day-to-day routines, when it comes to health. And so all of these things are a potential here. I'm just having all sorts of, every time I record these videos, it's like a lot of stuff comes up. Okay, so that should be fine. All right, so, and then Mercury stationing to go direct here in a conjunction with Neptune. And so Mercury moving direct is going to bring you clarity on an important issue involving your work or a work-related project. It can bring up, deception that's been going on beneath the surface in your workplace. And so that might be something that you need to work through and address, but you'll be able to do that much more easily moving forward. This can bring up issues around miscommunication. This could be you resolving mishaps and things that came up during the Mercury retrograde over these next few weeks as it relates to your health, maybe a misdiagnosis or a strange diagnosis, or related to your work and mistakes that were made. All right, and then for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. Venus in the sign of Pisces is in your 5th house, which is the house of play. It's the house of romance. This is a really great time to go on dates, to go out and be out in the world, to enjoy yourself, to do the things that you love to do because you love to do them, because you'll have much more opportunity to indulge, especially if you're indulging in partnership with somebody else. So, if you're not in a relationship, this can bring a really fun, dreamy, romantic love affair. This can bring deep spiritual connections, in partnership with other people. This can bring really beautiful opportunities to do things that are creative, to engage in your spiritual hobbies and passions and mystical types of pursuits. But it's especially good for enhancing creativity. The 5th house is creative self-expression out in the world and the way that you express that through the things that you love and that you're passionate about. And so now is a time when you'll be able to come back into balance, to feel much better and more harmonious through expressing yourself in that way, doing something like taking a painting class or doing something creative. This is also a time where you can improve the relationship with your children if you have any, where that can become much more of a balanced, playful, harmonious experience for you. So, go out and play, take your kids to the park, take your kids to a painting class, right? That type of thing. And then with Mercury stationing in your 5th house conjunct Neptune, it's not the worst thing, especially if you have a Scorpio rising anywhere near that 16 degrees. This is going to be potentially a beneficial time where you're going to feel much more open and empathic and compassionate in a positive way. And especially as it relates to your relationships, you're going to feel much more interconnected. You're going to feel much more loving. You're going to feel like you want to sort of really get to know people on a deeper, more spiritual level, to merge your soul with the soul of another person. That type of energy is really, really potent. So that's a positive thing. But if there have been any if there has been any confusion, if there have been any moments of deception or disillusionment involving your children, or maybe where you've been lying to yourself about the way that you've been utilizing your creativity out in the world, any deception in relationship and romance and in a love affair in particular, that's going to bubble up. Maybe you weren't seeing a specific partnership very clearly in the past, and so Mercury is especially a romantic partnership. It doesn't have to be a long-term partnership because it's the 5th house, right? So more like a fun, sort of relationship type of thing, someone that you're just dating more casually. Maybe you didn't see them clearly, and maybe you're going to have this moment of disillusionment, or you're going to get that clarity that you've been seeking, so that way you can make a better decision about these types of relationships moving forward. But this is really great for creative writing, creative goal setting, having ideas and just brainstorming things in a very creative fashion, because you're going to have a heightened intuition at this time when it comes to those types of things. All right, and then for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, Venus is moving into Pisces. And so this is wonderful for doing anything involving your home, your property, your family. This is a time when you can create a more balanced and harmonious home life. This is a time when you can have much more beautiful spiritual connections with your family members. The family dynamic can sort of balance itself out and work a little bit more harmoniously, so that there can be positive changes in the dynamic of your family and in your family relationships. Your family might view you more positively, and you might be more popular amongst your family members during the time when Venus is in your 4th house. And this is a great time to redecorate, to renovate your home, to make your space more beautiful, tranquil, harmonious. And this is a good time. It's one time that can be good for, doing things like moving, because it's going to be a more balanced, beautiful situation. This could be a good time to connect with a family member, or reconnect with a family member with Mercury stationing to go direct that maybe you've lost touch with for whatever reason, and you can rekindle that relationship in a very positive way, where you can feel much more empathy and more compassion for that person moving forward. And so maybe you can reintegrate some of those people into your life with Mercury stationing to go direct in your 4th house as well. Any confusion, mishaps, whatever that have been lingering involving your home, your family, your property, those will bubble up to the surface. You'll be able to see things more clearly over the next few weeks, especially, through the middle of April, and you'll be able to move forward with your plans and your goals related to your home, your family, your property a lot more easily as a result. All right, and then for Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this energy here with Venus in the 3rd house, this is very positive for communication. And so you can have much more compassionate, harmonious communication. Your communication style will become much more flowy and articulate and more easily received by other people. So it's a really great time for engaging, not right now with Mercury stationing, right? But into the future, into the next few weeks, this is a great time for engaging in important communications, especially if a mutually beneficial agreement needs to be reached, because you're going to be both thinking more compassionately. It's going to be something where you're empathic to the other person's cause, and they'll be the same to you. So there's that reciprocal, balanced, compassionate relationship, and you can have a more reasonable discussion as a result of that. You might become more popular in your community. This is a really great time to engage in any sort of community projects, to connect with people in your community, to form a relationship with your neighbors and the people that you surround yourself with, to reconnect with siblings, extended family members. Those types of relationships can flourish under this influence. And then when you have Mercury conjunct Neptune in the 3rd house, this is a time where, this week in particular, there's still going to be a lot of confusion and around communication, right? And so this might be an extra retrograde time. You might feel much more foggy. The brain fog is there for a reason, though. It's causing you to stop thinking about things so logically this week, and to sort of sit back, to allow the information to come to you, to visualize things, to be more receptive and intuitive in the way that you make decisions. Moving forward, though, you're going to get a lot of clarity around anything that was foggy, confusing, any miscommunications and mishaps, any deception in communication. That's all going to come to the surface. You're going to be able to resolve these issues over these next few weeks into the 17th of April. And then Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Venus is in the sign of Pisces in your second house of finance, right? And Venus has an association with finance. This can be really great for money, sort of just manifesting, for getting a bonus, for, balancing your budget and having a more harmonious, balanced experience with your resources and with your relationship with your resources. This is a time also when you might want to spend more money on things that are beautiful and that have aesthetic value, luxury items. You might overindulge a little bit, so you do want to be cautious in that respect. But if there is something that you want to purchase, an important purchase that involves beauty, that involves even something like, makeup or clothing or, artwork for your home or something like that that you've been wanting to invest in and you've given it some thought, now's the time when you can do that, and it'll probably go a little bit better for you. So that's something to think about too, but not yet. I keep saying that, not yet. Mercury is stationing here, so you're not seeing things clearly yet. So don't just jump in until, maybe this weekend or into next week. Don't jump in head first right away when Venus moves into Pisces and buy that thing, because that purchase might not work out in the way that you think it will. If there's been any deception, any miscommunication, any confusion around resources over the past 3 weeks, now's a time when Mercury stations direct where you can get clarity through intuition and through, intuitive insights and through, other means besides rational, logical, linear thinking. But moving forward, you'll be able to resolve a lot of the issues that may have come up for you in the area of finance, of, resources, of property ownership, material possessions, and all of that. Okay, and then finally, for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this energy is happening in your 12th house, your first house, which is the house of you. So when Venus moves to your first house, you feel much more beautiful, you feel radiant, you feel much more appealing to the opposite sex, and you usually are. You'll draw in more stares, you'll draw in more compliments from people, because you'll be feeling good, you'll be exuding that confidence much more so, and you'll usually be looking a little better. So when you have Venus conjunct your ascendant in particular, so that'll be happening sometime in the next few weeks for you, it's a really great time for you to have a makeover, to get some sort of beauty treatment, something like that, so you feel much more confident, and so your appearance is improved in some sort of way. This is a really great time where you're going to feel much more empathic and harmonious and balanced in the way that you project your energy outwardly, in the way that you receive energy from other people. So you're going to be more open to much more compassionate connections. You're going to feel much more empathic towards others, even though that's already kind of a Pisces thing, right? But it's going to be in a more balanced way where you're not overdoing it and martyring yourself for somebody else and becoming overly obligated for things because you are so compassionate and empathic and you feel what everybody else is feeling, and that can be a lot, right? So it can cause you to want to just do things to make someone feel better in the moment. With Venus on the ascendant, usually it's more mutually beneficial, so it's not going to be as intense. With Mercury stationing to go direct in the sign of Pisces, this is if you have especially your Pisces rising near 16 degrees, so anywhere from 14 to 18 degrees is probably going to be feeling this the most. This is going to be a time where it can almost feel a little ominous because Neptune's involved, right? So you might feel this sense of free-floating anxiety, this sort of anxious energy, like something's going on in the ethers or on the outside that you can't quite pinpoint or control, and it's just sort of an unsettled feeling in the ethers, right? If that's the case for you, it's not going to last. It's just Neptune. Something is going on in the ethers, but it's not necessarily bad, and usually you're kind of just waiting for the next shoe to drop and nothing happens. But this is a time when you can think more intuitively. We're a really great time this week for Pisces people to spend time in contemplation, meditation, seclusion, to take a step back from the day-to-day grind and the day-to-day reality, to indulge a little bit, right? Because that's Venus in Pisces too. And you'll get a lot more clarity, so that way moving forward, anything that has happened in terms of lies, deception, miscommunication, confusion, fogginess, disillusionment, anything where you've had a Mercury retrograde mishap that needs to be resolved, or if something came up that you realize you need to resolve in the future, you have the chance to do that over these next few weeks. All right, and so that is my forecast, you guys, for all 12 signs. Thank you again so much for watching this video. If you let me know how your Mercury retrograde's been going too. Comment down below. And if you want to book a reading with me, you can always do that. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.